They ran. Patch led the way and Blue followed. The alley rushed past. Street lamplight, walls, power lines, the faint sound of a television somewhere in the distance. The night on Soso Mountain Road was still quiet. Blue thought while running. A friend, for the first time. In this alley, in this world, in this situation where no one could see, a first friend had appeared. A name too, Blue, for someone who hadn't even had a name until moments ago. And yet here they were, running. No time to feel the joy of it, no time to hold that name properly in the chest even once. It struck Blue as a little funny, just for a second. But looking at Patch running ahead, that thought disappeared quickly. Patch wasn't laughing. Blue watched that back. Patch scanned everything they passed in the alley as they ran. A man smoking in front of a convenience store late at night. A girl walking with her head down and earphones in. Whoever might be behind a darkened window somewhere. To Patch's eyes, it all appeared as light. Emotions carrying color. At one narrow alley they passed, Patch slowed for just a moment, barely noticeable. But Blue caught it. Patch's gaze moved toward the inside of that alley, as if something dark was visible there. Then Patch started running again. That cat is watching this city even while running. How long had Patch been doing this? The things Patch had said came back. Throwing itself in front of a bus, scratching a thief's face. With that small body, alone, without anyone knowing, trying to protect the light of the city. I just did what I could. Said it, then looked away. As if it were nothing. Blue kept running and turned inward. Me? Why am I here? Who I used to be? Unknown. Why I ended up like this? Unknown. No memories, a name that just arrived moments ago. No idea what I'm capable of. The 100 thank yous Patch mentioned? Could that really tell me something? The warning that the darker light mustn't grow heavier in this city? What does that have to do with me? And if it does grow heavier, what actually happens then? Nothing was known. The unknowns moved through Blue's mind without permission even while running. Questions with no answers circled somewhere narrower than the alley itself. Then Patch stopped. Blue stopped too. Patch had frozen in the exact posture of running. The ears slowly pricked straight up. The head turned toward the far end of the alley. Eyes narrowing. It wasn't the usual gruff expression. It was something else. The face of someone sensing. Someone who knows. Blue waited without saying anything. Patch didn't move for a long moment. The night wind of the alley touched Patch's fur lightly. The tail dropped low. Strong fear and something rotten. 2 spreading in dark violet, wide and thick. 3 more. Murky, heavy, dark. Do you see them? Blue shook their head. Patch held that gaze for a moment longer, then started running again. This time the pace was slightly different. More focused. Heavier. Blue followed and watched Patch's profile. The eyes seemed to be looking somewhere far away. Running through this alley and yet seeing something else entirely. They were what little remained of a fading memory. The image of a younger self looking down from atop a wall. Small, thin, hungry. The warmth of a hand offering food. The sound of footsteps walking together mixed with the sound of a cart being pulled through an alley. And then the middle of the night. First came the sound of something falling, then the fear that followed. The sensation of the entire body going rigid. The unbearable feeling of knowing in that moment that nothing could be done. Climbing to the top of some building and crying until the throat tore. Not in words, but in pure desperation. Please let someone come. And then the orange light that had covered everything. Patch blinked. It was an alley. Running. The sensation of asphalt underfoot. Cold night air. The eyes wavered for a moment, then settled again. Blue saw that look. Said nothing. Didn't ask. Just kept running alongside.
The two stopped at the entrance of an alley, a narrow alley that led to a dead end. The lamplight was weak and the inside was hard to see. It's in here. The fear is thick. Patch looked up at Blue, and without hesitation, "You can fly, can't you? Can you go up and see what's happening? I can't see inside from here." The moment Blue heard those words, everything stopped. The sky, buildings shrinking below. The body growing heavier the higher it climbed. Nausea. The moment balance collapsed. Falling, fast, unable to stop. Again? I have to fly again? The words came out before Blue could stop them. It wasn't resistance, they just came first. The memory of the fall was still in the feet, and it came out through the mouth before anything else could. Knowing it's possible, that's one thing. But the distance between knowing and actually doing it feels impossibly long. That sensation would come back again every time. Blue hated that, and hated hating it. Patch was quiet for a moment, then looked directly at Blue and said, "Hey, sure it's scary, of course it's scary. But does being scared solve anything? Does anyone solve it for you? I can't fly like you can, you know? Go on, get up there and see what's happening." Short, but everything was in it. Not a complaint, not comfort, just fact. Patch couldn't fly, only Blue could. Blue looked at Patch. That look from while they were running came back. The one turned towards somewhere far away. The one that wavered and settled. That cat was scared once too, and is here now. Fly up. Have to fly. Can do this. Have to try. Go up. Flying. Can fly. Go. Can do this. Have to go now. Go. Blue repeated it silently. It felt awkward. There was no confidence, but kept repeating. The feet left the ground. Blue rose and looked at the building alongside. The first floor window slid past. 2 floors up. 3, 4. The body was beginning to feel heavy. There it is again, Blue thought. This time it was already known. Knowing didn't make it less frightening. Still didn't stop. The alley spread out below. It was the end of a dead-end alley. In the corner made by 2 low walls meeting at an angle, there were 2 dogs. One was fairly large, and the other had pressed itself into the larger one's body, trembling. A mother and her pup. Their fur was matted and dirty, and both already looked exhausted. In front of them stood 3 men. One was swaying slightly with drink, lazily aiming a stone he held toward the mother dog. Another leaned against the wall with arms crossed, snickering. The third was slamming his foot against the ground to drive the dogs further into the corner, watching their reaction with amusement. The mother dog growled low, but had nowhere to retreat. The pup pressed tight against her back, shaking with its tail tucked under. The moment Blue looked down at that scene, something ignited. It was rage. It flooded everything before it could be named. Why? Why do that? Why pen them in with nowhere to go and laugh like that? What did those small creatures do? The rage bled into the light. Blue didn't notice, but something dark had begun to seep slowly into the pale blue. A heavy, murky light. Emotion becoming color, spreading outward. Hey, what's going on up there? Why are you— just calm down first. Calm down. Patch's voice cut sharp from below. From the alley entrance, looking up, Patch could see Blue's color shifting. Blue stopped. The voice rang through the alley, sharp and urgent, and underneath it, something else. Worry. Unmistakably. Slowly, Blue pushed it down. It wasn't easy. The end of that alley was still visible. That sound of laughter was still audible. But slowly, pressed it down. The dark light seeping into the color began to subside. It hadn't disappeared entirely. Still murky, still unstable, but easing slightly. Stay calm. Have to stay calm. A way had to be found. Had to stop this. But what could be done in this state? Feet that don't touch the ground. Nothing that can be grabbed. No one who can see. Physically, there seemed to be no way. In this world, Blue was as good as absent. Unseen, unheard, untouched. If there was anything learned from all that wandering through this city, it was that Blue had never once made contact with anyone. That was being felt again right now. The dogs were being driven further into that corner at this very moment, and there was nothing to be done. Shouting wouldn't stop it. Reaching out to pull someone away would find nothing to hold. Wanting to gather the dogs and fly them out, that too Blue knew, was impossible. It was quieter than rage, and went deeper. Then, hey, Patch's voice came from below again. This time it was different. Less urgent, more solid.
You know how you were leaning against that sign when we were talking earlier? You just did it. You decided to lean and it worked. That's how it works for you. If you want to do something, decide first. Go. Blue heard that. Leaning against the sign. Just leaned. Decided to lean and it happened. Flying was the same. Decided to fly and flew. The will comes first. In this state, it does. Something flashed. And then, in that moment, a dull sound rang through the alley. The mother dog had been shielding her pup, and had been kicked. Every thought disappeared. Blue flew toward it, without thinking. Only direction. There. Over there. Hey! Hey! Hey, hey, hey! Patch called out from below. At least tell me where you're going. But Blue had already disappeared somewhere into the alley. The pale blue light bleeding fast into the night. Patch stood at the alley entrance and looked around. Left? Right? Which way had they turned? There was no way to know. End of episode 4.